So, very good evening, friends. Today, we'll start with the introduction. So, let me share with you the curriculum first and the marks. What are the various marks assigned to each of these topics? Let us quickly go through this. As we already know, 85 1-mark question and 15 case studies. 3 case studies of 5 marks each. Same on IPA pattern. 60 is the pass percentage, negative marking of 25% assigned to a question. Introduction to social sectors and Indian financial markets, 4 marks. Then Indian financial markets, 4 marks. Introduction to trading, clearing, settlement and risk, 4 marks. Social stock exchange, introduction, funding structures and instruments, 10 marks. Registration and listing on social stock exchange, 5 marks. Social audit and social auditors, 12 marks. Social audit standards framework, 13 marks. Social impact assessment, 15 marks. Social impact assessment case studies, 15 marks. Disclosures, norms, reporting requirements by social auditors and penalties, 10 marks. Taxation, 4 marks. And key regulations, 4 marks. So this is the arrangement of marks which are assigned. And based on that, we have to study the various things. Lot of material has already been shared in the group, and we are in the process of making more material. But today, what we will do, we will first begin with the NISM study material, which is already available on NISM website. So we'll quickly go through the material which is available there. And let me put it in slideshow mode. Yes. So this is the material, and I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So these are the various chapters, and this is the marks percentage, syllabus outline and weightages. So this is given there. This PPT, I have already shared it with you. Now, Chapter 1, Introduction to Social Sectors and Indian Financial Markets, which covers 8 marks. Introduction to Social Sector, 4 marks, and Indian Financial Markets, 4 marks. So what we will try to do is, we will try to cover at least 50 pages of this study material. So let us first know about the social sector in India. Overview of social sector in Indian economy. It says the term social sector refers to all those sets of activities which contribute to human capital formation and human development, such as education, health, medical care, water supply, and sanitation, housing, etc. So these are the various activities which contribute to human capital formation and human development. The social sector is also called the third sector. So there could be a question on this, whether this social sector is called first sector, second sector, third sector, prime sector, prominent sector. So this social sector is also called the third sector, comprising myriad development organizations. Myriad means lot of development organizations, voluntary organizations, NGOs, non-state, non-market organizations working on issues of development. Actually, this social development is basically the work of government. But government is not able to develop all these sectors. So lot of self-help groups, these voluntary organizations, NGOs, they come to government help. So that is why they are called non-governmental organizations. So the social sector, this is also called the third sector, comprising myriad development organizations, voluntary organizations, NGOs, non-state, non-market organizations working on issue of development. Section 8 companies, social enterprises and entrepreneurs, individuals working on fellowships, collaborative and collective. So these are all the social sector. So there are different types of development organizations, and these are some of the types of organizations which are contributing to social development in addition to what our government is doing. Now, the approach of social sector aims at addressing the gap in sectors like education, health, sanitation, housing, energy, environment, and so on, focusing on the disadvantaged and vulnerable sections of the population. Because there are certain sections of population which cannot afford, say, education, health. So you have to give them free education, free health, free sanitation, free housing, free energy, environment, and so on. So basically, they are addressing the gap. So the approach of social sector, it aims at addressing the gaps in sectors like education, health, sanitation, housing, energy, environment, and so on, focusing on the disadvantaged and vulnerable sections of the population. But now these social sectors organizations, they are working in sectors which are primary for human development and human capital formation. They will not give you money, but they will provide you the education through which you can earn your livelihood. They will provide you clean water, sanitation, health facilities, housing, energy, environment, and so on, focusing on the disadvantaged and vulnerable sections of the population. And they are helping which sections? Those who are disadvantaged or vulnerable. Suppose you are rich, then they will not offer you education because these facilities are restricted to people who cannot afford it otherwise. So basically, they are focusing on the disadvantaged and vulnerable sections of the population. Then they are conducting research-based advocacy and feeding into better informed programs across the sectoral spectrum of the social sector. So now they are conducting research also. And then they are feeding into better informed programs across the sectoral spectrum, because those underprivileged or disadvantaged sections of the society, they must also be made aware of the schemes which these NGOs are offering. Then forming think tank organizations with a right-based approach to address social issues. So now they are forming these think tank organizations also with a right-based approach to address social issues. Furthermore, the social sector has been identified as an important partner towards addressing the Sustainable Development Goals 2030 agenda. And as we will know that there are 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So this was the overview of social sector in Indian economy. There are certain underprivileged people which need education, health, medical care, because the government cannot do everything on its own. So a lot of NGOs, Section 8 companies, voluntary organizations, they are coming for the help of such disadvantaged sections of society. Now let us see what are these sustainable development. Now questions can be set on, because this section, this chapter 1, basically it is of 4 marks. Like introduction to social sector is of 4 marks and Indian financial markets is of 4 marks. So naturally they will set questions and the questions will be set in objective type format. Because in the, let us say the first overview of social sector in the Indian economy, what could be the type of questions they may ask? They may ask that, okay, the social sector is also called the dash, prime sector, prominent sector, third sector, and things like that. So you have to take the third sector. So that is why you need to read each and every word carefully. Now,
So can you increase the font size? People are saying.
okay. Font size, actually, I think, just a minute. Let me try. I think now it is better.
Yeah, now it is good.
Okay. So now they may set questions on this, like from current slide. Okay. Now I think it is better. या ऐसे ही रख दें इसको और बड़ा कर देते हैं. ये बड़ा है ना, अब ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
Now it is better.
Yes.
Yes.
Now what you
वो
can do
वापस
is,
चला गया सर, वापस उसी पे चला गया।
वापस आ गया।
अच्छा उसी पर चले जाएं, ऐसे ही कर ले।
नहीं नहीं, वापस उसी पे आ गया। हाँ जी,
नहीं
अब ठीक है,
वापस का नहीं, अब तो ठीक है।
अब ठीक है सर। ये पर वो अभी फिर वापस चला जाता है, वो उस
नहीं
पर
अभी,
रहता नहीं है।
अच्छा अब ठीक है, और
हाँ
बड़ा
जी,
करें इसको?
ना नहीं नहीं, बस ये
ये
ठीक
तो
है जी,
ज्यादा बड़ा हो जाएगा।
ये तो ज्यादा बड़ा हो गया।
नहीं अब समझ में आ रहा है ना, कोई कोई बात नहीं, इतना बड़ा रहने दीजिए, कोई क्या इशू है, अभी भी चल रहा है, ठीक है ना? आई थिंक इट
हाँ
इज
जी,
नाउ ओके।
Yes,
So
now
now,
it is okay. Oh,
हाँ,
but yeah. When it is a portrait, then it is a small font.
actually I have already shared this PPT in the group. So you are supposed to open it on your own laptop. Because if it is, if you are viewing, if you are attending this meeting through mobile, then it might be problematic. But I think now this font is sufficiently large. So
Now it is okay, sir. Okay.
what I was saying was that, okay, what they can do is they can set questions on this. Social sector is also called the prominent sector, large sector, first, second, third. Then they may ask that what could be the various types of NGOs. Now in this social stock exchange concept, they are also envisaging some for-profit organizations. Some of you who have gone through the case study material, they will notice that they are not only encouraging these NGOs, but for-profit organizations also. It is not that only non-profit organizations can set up this, can issue their shares, but these for-profit organizations, they can also get their stocks listed on the social stock exchange. So first could be on the type of sector. Second question could be on the type of organizations which are working. Third could be on the sectors, education, health, sanitation, housing, energy, environment, and so on. Next question could be on the what type of sections are covered in this. Now let us see these sustainable development goals. These member states of the United Nations, they adopted the 2030 agenda. There are 17 sustainable development goals. Now they adopted the 2030 agenda for sustainable development in the year 2015. It is pegged as the blueprint for peace and prosperity for the people and the planet. The said agenda has identified 17 goals. Now their questions could be set on these 17 goals, that which of these is not included in social sustainable development goals. So they could set questions in a negatively worded format also. Like they may introduce some other goal also besides these 17, that which of these is not one of the sustainable development goals as per the agenda set by United Nations. And these are all very simple and self-explanatory. Let us go through them one by one. What are these self-development goals? First is no poverty, then zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth. Then industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, so life on land, peace, justice and strong institutions, and partnership for the goals. So these are the 17 sustainable development goals. Now, can anyone point out that what is not covered? They are covering life below water. They are covering life on land. Now, whether life in air is covered or not.
No.
So they could set questions like this because they are covering both aquatic life and life on land. So suppose they life on air, and they may just twist a wording because they are talking of reduced inequalities. So they may set one of the options as enhanced inequalities. So that way also you have to remember. Suppose they may set a question like this: which of these following is not one of the 17 sustainable development goals? They may write like this: enhanced inequalities. because we have to see the wording also. Wording is also important. Now, concept of social enterprises. Social enterprises, they have gained importance in the late 19th in India, where their contribution towards social change has been recognized by different sectors. Now, they are discussing this concept of, because whenever we are studying a particular topic, we have to keep in mind what could be the questions set on this. We will try to give you questions also for your practice, but side by side, when we are studying the subject, we are discussing what could be the type of questions which are being asked. Setish, he has formulated very good questions, and he will be taking it up in just after another 10-15 minutes. So 1.3 is the concept of social enterprises. Social enterprises, they have gained importance in the late 19th in India, where their contribution towards social change has been recognized by different sectors. Social enterprises, they have been developing innovative models to address complex social problems. This term, because they are actually addressing the complex social problems. They are not addressing individual problems. Suppose someone is suffering from depression. Now, individually, that is not the responsibility of a social enterprise to address. But for society as such, if we again have a look at the sustainable development goals, we might find that, okay, where this suppose some organization is, some social enterprise is working towards, say, curbing this depression problems. So out of these 17, where will it be covered? So that way they also can cover. Will it be covered anywhere? Suppose there is a social enterprise which is working towards reduction of these depression problems, which is common. So where it will be covered? Can anybody tell?
Good health.
Good
Yeah,
health and
yes.
well-being.
Good health
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
well-being.
So they could set questions like this also. So when you have to read, you have to
Sir,
question yourself.
even telecommunication is not here. Telecommunication and communication, that is not one of an SGU.
Yes, 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 yes. Right. So now they are addressing these complex social problems. This term was formally introduced in it. I am deliberately going slow for the first day, because I think we will develop a knack of the subject when we discuss these things slowly. But I think for 2-3 days initially we'll go a bit slow, and then we'll move faster. So now this term, it was formally introduced in India in 1981 with the establishment of Ashoka, after which various other models emerged like Salco Solar, Basics, Barefoot College, Arvind Eye Care, and so on. So these are the various social enterprises. Funding agencies and venture capital firms also started focusing on social enterprises after recognizing their role in the social sector. So these are some of the establishments. So what was the first social enterprise? Ashoka. Then Salco Solar, Basics, Barefoot College, Arvind Eye Care. Funding agencies and venture capital firms, they also started focusing on social enterprises after recognizing their role in the social sector. Grassroots Innovations, Augmentation Network, Acumen Fund, Intellicap, Willagro, and other funding organizations started their investments in social enterprises. Now, these are the organizations which are funding these social enterprises. So there are two types of enterprises. One are the enterprises which are involved in the social development. These are organizations like Ashoka, Salco Solar, Basics, Barefoot College, Arvind Eye Care, and funding agencies. These are the funding agencies. Grassroots Innovations Augmentation Network, Acumen Fund, Intellicap, Willgrow, and other funding organizations.
Sir, this Ashoka is a government organization or a government?
No. These are all social enterprises, basically.
separate?
Actually, government as such, government will do on its own.
Okay.
These are all social enterprises.
Okay.
So social enterprises, they can access not just grants and donations, but also have access to social venture capital funds. So they are receiving grants, They are receiving grants maybe from government agencies also, but they also have access to social venture capital funds. A social enterprise is a type of organization which aligns non-profit social mission with financial sustainability through commercial viability. Because actually, an organization may be a non-profit organization, but then it has to see the commercial viability also. Because in some of the organizations, some of the social enterprises, you might have noticed that they offer their services or their products at a concessional rate because they are from underprivileged sections of society. But they have to financially sustain themselves also, because no government can assure them grants or donations on a continuous basis. Sometimes they are project specific, and sometimes they are period specific. So what they do, they access the grants and donations which are doled out by the government, be it central or state government. Then they have access to social venture capital funds. Then, but they have to simultaneously align their non-profit social mission with financial sustainability through commercial viability also. Because every organization, even it be non-profit organization, non-profit doesn't mean free. So non-profit means, okay, they are not earning any profit. They are not running it with a commercial motive, but it has to be a viable project also. With a legal mandate, now there is a legal mandate because those profit making companies, they have to mandatorily spend 2% from a company's net profit. With a legal mandate on CSR spending of 2% from a company's net profit, many non-profit social enterprises are getting funding support. Today, multilateral agencies like companies, impact investors, incubators, and accelerators, academic institutions, research agencies are contributing to social enterprises through funding and advisory support, research studies, and capacity building workshops. Because companies are compulsorily required to spend on CSR. So this CSR, because companies are also looking for viable projects, they are also looking for good social projects. So naturally, these non-profit social enterprises, they are getting funding support. Now, key features of social enterprises include: main aim of social enterprise is a social or environment cause. So what are the key features? These are the key features. So main aim is social or environment cause. Then it has a revenue generating model where profits are earned through sale of products or services. Then revenue generated is invested back for a social cause. Because like in Tihar jail, there is a jail heart. So Tihar heart is there, where products made by the prisoners who are inmates of Tihar jail, they are sold. So and that revenue generated is invested back for the social welfare of those prisoners. So it is not that they are not generating revenue, because most of these social enterprises, they are earning profits also, but they are plowing back those profits for a social cause. And these enterprises operate like companies and have enterprise orientations. They may do marketing also. They may participate in trade fairs also to just showcase their products and services. Now, according to SEBI, ICDR regulations, ICDR means Issue of Capital and Disclosure Requirement Regulations. A social enterprise means either a not-for-profit organization or a for-profit social enterprise. So both types of organizations are covered, not-for-profit and for-profit social enterprise also. That meets the eligibility criteria specified in the SEBI ICDR regulations. Now, what are the eligibility conditions for being identified? These are the: first of all, to be identified as a social enterprise, a not-for-profit organization or a for-profit social enterprise shall establish primacy of social intent. So the first condition is primacy of social intent. The social objective should be prime. So PSI, primacy of social intent. Second is, in order to establish the primacy of its, so we have to remember PSI, primacy of social intent. In order to establish the primacy of its social intent, such social enterprise shall meet the following eligibility criteria. So first of all, eradicating hunger, poverty, malnutrition, and inequality. To remember this, I use the word acronym MI phone. M means malnutrition, I means inequality, P means poverty, and H means hunger. So poor people like we, they are using MI phone. So M stands for malnutrition, I stands for inequality, P stands for poverty, and H stands for hunger. Then they are promoting healthcare, including mental health care, sanitation, and making available safe drinking water. Promoting education, employability, and livelihoods. Then promoting gender equality, empowerment of women, and LGBTQIA communities. Then ensuring environmental sustainability, addressing climate change, including mitigation and adaptation, forest and wildlife conservation. So this is also one of the criteria. Now, the question is whether this forest and wildlife conservation, it is included in SDGs or not. Let us go back again to SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and let us try to find out whether this wildlife conservation is included there or not. So can anybody tell without referring to those SDGs whether this wildlife conservation, because they can set questions like this.
No, sir.
No, life on land.
Yes, it will be covered in life on land, because life doesn't mean human life only. So it includes animals also. So wildlife will be covered here. So life will include human life, plant life, animal life, everything. Because life below water, what it means? It means the aquatic range. So life below water, normally humans don't live below water. So who lives below water? These fishes, etc., wild animals. So they are there. So life below water, life on land. So it will be covered here. So that way they could set questions. Protection of national heritage, art and culture. Now this protection of national heritage, art and culture, whether it is covered in SDGs?
No, I think.
Let us again have a look.
This will again come under life on land, sir.
Sir, repeat करना question.
क्वेश्चन ये है कि एक मिनट, क्वेश्चन मेरा ये है कि ये जो है अपना प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ नेशनल हेरिटेज, आर्ट एंड कल्चर, ये कहीं पर कवर्ड है एसडीजी में?
पार्टनरशिप और गोल्स में कवर होना चाहिए.
हाँ जी,
क्वालिटी एजुकेशन में भी हो सकता है. एजुकेशन तो
नहीं.
सर आर्ट और उसका वो भी इंक्लूड
17
रहता है.
point.
सर पार्टनरशिप और गोल्स में, क्योंकि पार्टनरशिप में भी कवर होना चाहिए ये.
But there is no direct relation with those.
and the point is that we have to study like this, है कि नहीं? उसके बाद में ट्रेनिंग टू प्रमोट रूरल स्पोर्ट्स, नेशनली रिकॉग्नाइज्ड स्पोर्ट्स, पैरालंपिक स्पोर्ट्स एंड ओलंपिक स्पोर्ट्स, ये कहां पर आ जाएगा आपका?
Yeah, this is also not included in the SDG.
ये किस में कवर हो जाएगा? विच पॉइंट? पॉइंट बताइए कौन से में कवर हो जाएगा?
गुड हेल्थ एंड वेलबींग में कवर
यस, गुड हेल्थ, एक तो गुड हेल्थ एंड वेलबींग में कवर हो सकता है ये.
सस्टेनेबल सिटीज,
सस्टेनेबल सिटीज एंड कम्युनिटीज में भी कवर हो सकता है.
पार्टनरशिप में भी कवर हो जाएगा, क्योंकि नॉर्मली ये जो है ये सारे इनिशिएटिव पार्टनरशिप के थ्रू होते हैं.
तो इसमें क्या है, इसका ना मैं आपको पूरा मटेरियल दे दूंगा सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स का. इसमें क्या यहाँ पर मटेरियल नहीं है, बट आई विल गिव यू अ लिंक वेयर यू विल फाइंड द डिटेल्स ऑफ ऑल दिस. एक एक का पूरा डिटेल में भी आप यू हरिडली गो थ्रू इट. आई थिंक आई हैव ऑलरेडी शेयर्ड इट विद सेठी जी. तो इसका जो सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स का ना, आई विल गिव यू ये यू इफ यू गो टू यूएनओ वेबसाइट, सो लॉट ऑफ मटेरियल इज अवेलेबल. तो आपको क्या करना है, यू हैव टू जस्ट सर्फ थ्रू दोस गोल्स और फिर आपको यू विल डेवलप ए वेरी क्लियर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. And if any question is set on this SDG, which is very likely, then you will be able to answer it. That is the point, basically. अच्छा, ये हो गया supporting incubators of social enterprises. Then supporting other platforms that strengthen the non-profit ecosystem in fundraising and capacity building, promoting livelihoods for rural and urban poor, including enhancing income of small and marginal farmers, slum area development, affordable housing, then disaster management, including relief, rehabilitation, and reconstruction activities. Promotion of financial inclusion. Promotion of financial inclusion is another important aspect. Then facilitating access to land and property assets for disadvantaged communities. Bridging the digital divide in internet and mobile phone access, addressing issues of misinformation and data protection, promoting welfare of migrants and displaced persons, any other area as identified by the board or government of India from time to time. So these are the, ये क्या है, concept of social enterprise में सारा covered है आपका. ठीक है, आगे चलते हैं. The social enterprises shall target undeserved or less privileged population segments or regions recording lower performance in the development priorities of central or state governments. Basically क्या है भाई, in some sectors government is already working, central or state government is already working. Now these social enterprises, they will target undeserved or less privileged population segments or regions recording lower performance in the development priorities of central or state government. ठीक है, इनको यहाँ पर काम करना है. कुछ एरिया में तो गवर्नमेंट काम कर ही रही है, जिनमें गवर्नमेंट काम नहीं कर रही वहां पर इनको काम करना. So there are different forms of social sector organizations in India, like trust, society, and Section 8 companies. There is no now there could be a question whether a cooperative society is a social sector organization. What types of societies are there? There are certain societies which are registered under Societies Registration Act, and there are certain societies which are registered on a cooperative basis. Basically, by society here it means the societies which are covered under Societies Registration Act and Section 8 companies. There is no single regulatory body for these organizations as they are governed under the Act as per their registration, which is described in table 1.1 below. This implies that their accounting and reporting requirements also vary. Okay? Now this is the difference. So what is the meaning? Trust. Trust is the oldest form because it is governed basically by Indian Trust Act 1882. It is in a sense an arrangement between parties whereby one party holds ownership over property on behalf of another person. Now, let us understand this trust by way of an example. Now, there is a government officer. His son was unfortunately killed in an accident. Now, because he has got no children, so he intends to set up a trust for the benefit of accident victims, motor accident victims. So what he will do? He will assign a particular sum, say 1 lakh, 10 lakhs, even 1,000, whatever amount. But that will be irrevocable. So he will get it registered as a trust with a registrar, and he will make someone, he is the settler of the trust, and the other person will be the trustee. He may entrust this job either to himself, he may himself become the trustee. So settler and trustee may be the same also, but trustee may be someone else also. So now this trustee, it will work on behalf of the trust. So this is the concept of trust. So if you want to make a trust, what you have to do? You have to make a trust deed. You have to get itself registered with the registrar, where the property at which address this trust is being formed is normally registered. Suppose this trust is to be registered in Malviya Nagar, Delhi. So now where properties of Malviya Nagar are registered, so this trust will also be registered there. And what will be the trust property? The trust property will be the amount which has been separately set aside, say 1,000, 1 lakh, 1 crore, whatever is the amount. And stamp duty will be accordingly paid on that. Now, what is this society? It is formed when a collection of people come together for a common charitable purpose, but it is not limited to charitable purpose, but may extend to multiple other fields also. Now, the Section 8 company. Section 8 company is basically for the promotion of commerce, arts, science, sports, education, research, social welfare, religion, charity, protection of environment, and such other objects. Now, what is the governing legislation? These trusts, they are governed by Indian Trust Act 1882. Societies are governed by Societies Registration Act 1860. And companies, they are governed by Companies Act 2013. These are registered as, trusts are registered as NGOs or NPOs. Societies are also registered as NGOs or NPOs. These Section 8 companies are also registered as NGO or NPO, but they enjoy all the privileges of a limited company without the need for them needing to add private limited to the name. Now, suppose you form a Section 8 company, then in other companies, you have to write the word private limited at the end. But here, you need not write the word private limited or limited at the end, in case it is a Section 8 company. Document, trust deed in case of trust, then memorandum of association and rules and regulations in case of society, and memorandum of association and articles of association in case of Section 8 company. I think these are all self-explanatory because we are all professionals and we have already know about these things. Now, this trust is to be registered with the Deputy Registrar of the state, as I already told you. This is to be, society should be registered with Registrar or Deputy Registrar of the particular state, because formation of societies is a state subject basically. So this Indian Trust Act is a central act, but this society's registrar, it is a state subject. So registrar or the Deputy Registrar of the particular state in which it is to be registered. And this Section 8 company, it is to be registered, registration authority is registrar of the companies or regional director RD. What is the minimum number? 2 trustees minimum. In here, there could be 7 members minimum, 5 for Jammu and Kashmir and Telangana, and 2 directors and 2 shareholders. It should be noted that directors may also be the shareholders. So 2 persons are required in case of Section 8 company. In trusts also 2 persons minimum, and in the societies 7. What are the annual compliances? Audited financial statements, they are required to be submitted under the Income Tax Act also. Form 10B is there. Then societies, they must file the list of names, occupations, and addresses of the managing committee members with the registrar, and the company must file the annual returns and documents. Now, this is the legal structure. So with these legal structures, NGOs can get tax benefits as well as get access to foreign donations in case of, say, FCRAs by registering under the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. This much we all know. And with the evolution of the concept of social entrepreneurship, for-profit social enterprises as well, hybrid models combining revenue generating models addressing a social cause have emerged. So now they are taking it further, because these NGOs like trusts, societies, or Section 8 company are basically for not for profit. But now this social enterprise concept has developed, and as this concept has evolved, there are certain social enterprises which are being run for profit also. So for profit social enterprises as well as hybrid models combining revenue generating models addressing a social cause have emerged. Now let us study the taxonomy related to, now if anybody asks you question on this formation or difference between Trust society and Section 8 company, I think you can easily tell. They may ask question on this registration authority, minimum number, annual compliances, etc., etc. So fourth point is taxonomy related to social enterprises. So first is the primacy of social intent or impact, PSI. In India, entities working for social causes, they can opt for legal forms from among a variety that is available, such as company, for-profit or Section 8 company, society, trust, partnership, etc. Because there is a difference between a social enterprise and the types we have discussed earlier, like trust, society, and Section 8 company. So, besides trust, society, and Section 8 company, a partnership firm could be there, a company could be there for profit, which is working towards social cause. So, social intent and impact, but these are the primary objectives. So, social intent and impact, but profit making is not prohibited as such for social enterprises. But now the question could be whether a Section 8 company can be run for profit. No, it cannot. So social intent and impact are the primary goals of the social enterprises, which is demonstrated through its focus on social. The focus here is the primary intent is social benefit, social cause. So social intent and impact are the primary goals of the social enterprises, which is demonstrated through its focus on social objectives for the undeserved or less underserved. I think I'll correct myself. It is underserved, not undeserved. Underserved. Matlab, whosoever is not being served properly, for the underserved or less privileged populations or regions. The social objective is centered on creating products and services relevant to the target beneficiary to accelerate human welfare. The activities, interventions, and programs adopted by the enterprise are in line to address the target beneficiaries in the target geography. An organization has a social intent when it serves social good, has a social mission, it creates a social value through social change, building social capital, and has a social bottom line. Now, there could be a question set on this, that an organization has a social intent when it has any of the following: when it serves social good, when it has a social mission, when it creates social value through social change, building social capital, and as a social bottom line. Funds are raised and plans are made to make a difference to society. Making profits and redistributing it amongst its board, staff, other stakeholders is not the intention. So that is not the intention. But some profits may be incidentally generated. Additional resources, if generated, they are reinvested in the enterprise through its stated objectives. So the primary intent is social. But if some profit is generated, then it will be flowed back to meet its stated objectives. In simplistic terms, social impact can be defined as the effect on people and communities that happens as a result of an action or inaction, an activity, project, program, or policy. Now, can anybody tell me whether in what way we can generate social impact through inaction? Can you tell me some example that, okay, you want to socially impact, but that can help as a result of an inaction? What could be the example?
Not cutting the trees.
Yes. So if there are certain vices and you are educating people not to go in for, say, intoxication, for not smoking and all those things. So if you are persuading people not to indulge in some sort of such activities, inebriation, smoking, etc., so then also it has a social impact. So social impact could be positive or negative also through an action or inaction. That, okay, you don't indulge in such activities. So then also, thereby that way also, you can generate social impact. You can, say, float advertisements for non-smoking. Like you might have witnessed in cinema halls, the ad which is run by this Akshay Kumar on non-smoking. So that is generating social impact. An activity, project, program, or policy. A social enterprise will have a positive change on the primary and secondary stakeholders and society at large. So what could be the example of secondary stakeholders? Primary stakeholders we know. What could be the secondary stakeholders?
The parents of the people, like if somebody is addicted to some nasha,
The
Yes.
family members.
Yes,
so the
yes.
parents, the neighbors, the
Right,
society,
right.
they can be society secondary.
So social enterprise will have a positive change on the primary and secondary. Primary is one for whom you are intending such social impact action. But those people who are being affected by such primary stakeholders, though they are covered under secondary stakeholders and society at large, which is called its social impact. For example, it can be seen through the data change in education levels and rising rates of graduation in an underserved community, a reduction in child malnutrition, increased biodiversity through a wasteland conservation program. Now, if there is a wasteland and you develop a conservation program and you can increase the biodiversity, you can increase the aquatic life, etc. So that way you are serving, you are making a societal impact. Now, this social, just a minute. So social objective. This a social objective of an organization will denote that it is created or incorporated to serve a social good and has a social mission. Such an organization might be any of the legal entities. It could be a society, trust, Section 8 company. Such an organization creates social value through social change, then building social capital and as a social bottom line. Thus, an enterprise having a financial bottom line as its objective, generating profits as its mandate, cannot pose a social objective. So social objective is not to generate profits. Social objective is through social change, building social capital, and it has a social bottom line. The social objective is centered around creating products and services relevant to the target beneficiary to accelerate human life. So these are basically not luxury goods. So these are basically targeted to accelerate human welfare. So if a question is asked whether creation of luxury goods could be a societal objective or a social objective, the answer will be no. So the idea is to create products and services which are relevant to the target beneficiary to accelerate human welfare. The target beneficiaries are those populations who are vulnerable and have special needs or problems. The social objective will guide the formulation. So suppose some handicapped people are there. So now you are creating implants or you are creating some sort of equipment to help such handicapped people. So that could be a social objective. But if you are giving supplements in a gym, so that cannot be a social objective. So that way questions can be framed. So we have to read each and every word carefully. The social objectives will guide the formulation of activities, interventions, and programs in line to address the target beneficiaries in the target geography. So Annexure 1, it provides an illustrative list of areas and sub-areas for taxonomy classification of social objectives. So let us have a look at the Annexure 1 also, what is here in Annexure 1. Annexure 1, it again talks of, let us go quickly to Annexure 1. Annexure 1. 1.2.3, 1.2.6. Types of investor आ गए, इसके बाद में लिस्ट ऑफ एरियाज एंड सब एरियाज आ गए। अच्छा 35 पेज पर है ये, so it is on page number 35. So if you have got a hard copy or you have got a soft copy, you can directly go on to page 35. This is an Excel one. This is an Excel one, list of areas and sub areas for taxonomy. So first of all, eradicating hunger, poverty, malnutrition and inequality. MI phone. Okay? Malnutrition, inequality, hunger, poverty. And this could be the area. And what could be the sub area? End hunger and ensure access by all people, in particular the poor and people in vulnerable sections. Safe drinking water. Then second is education, employability and livelihoods. And these are the sub areas. So you can go through these annexures. Now let us again go back to where we were. I think we will try to cover at least 4 marks paper today. So we were somewhere here, annexure 1. Social intervention. So social interventions are programs designed to deliver social benefits and develop human capital of specific target groups. Social interventions can be any of the following: social welfare, safety net, and social protection. So there is another concept, social intervention. Now, what is the social intervention? Social interventions are
The programs, basically the programs.
Yes, which are designed to deliver social benefits and develop human capital of specific target groups. Such interventions can be any of the following: social welfare, safety net, and social protection.
सर इसके अंदर गवर्नमेंट के प्रोग्राम भी तो आएंगे, जैसे सर्व शिक्षा अभियान है एजुकेशन के लिए, ऐसे
हाँ,
तो
सब
भी
आएगा,
कुछ-
आएगा, सब आएगा, बिल्कुल आएगा। हाँ, क्यों नहीं आएगा, बिल्कुल आएंगे जी। अभी ऐसा है ना, अभी हम सोशल एंटरप्राइजेस पढ़ रहे हैं बेसिकली। तो सोशल एंटरप्राइजेस तो ये है कि जो प्राइवेटली रन है, जो गवर्नमेंट के वो तो है ही है। उसमें तो क्या है कि व्हेन वी डिस्कस दोस केस स्टडीज और सोशल ऑडिट स्टैंडर्ड्स, देन वी हैव टू मेक ए कंपैरिजन कि what is the change in the data which has been floated by the government. वो बाद में हम पढ़ेंगे उस चीज को भी। अभी बेसिकली they are targeting organizations which are working privately in addition to the central or state government. So social interventions can cover programs in the areas such as poverty alleviation, access to public health care, maternal, neonatal child care, access to financial services, access, insurance and pension, job creation, technical and vocational skill development, and refugee protection, and so on. So purpose of social interventions can be reducing symptoms, resolving problems, enhancing adaptive capabilities, and improving the overall psychosocial well-being of the beneficiaries. तो ये है social intervention. तो यहाँ पर भी वो क्वेश्चन पूछ सकता है आपसे. He can ask what the purpose of social interventions. So purpose of social interventions can be reducing symptoms, resolving problems, enhancing adaptive capabilities, and improving the overall psychosocial well-being of the beneficiaries. अब ये social interventions में क्या क्या होता है? Poverty, ठीक है? तो poverty का alleviation. Poverty is a multidimensional concept focusing on aspects more than lack of income. So it is not merely lack of income, it is a multidimensional concept. United Nations, it elaborates definition of poverty as fundamentally, poverty is a denial of chances and opportunities a violation of human dignity. So it means a lack of basic capacity to participate effectively in society. So poverty is not merely lack of income. It is much more than that. So basically, a poor person is he cannot participate effectively in society. He lacks that basic capacity. It means not having enough to feed and clothe a family, not having a school or clinic to go to, not having the land on which to grow one's food or a job to earn one's living, not having access to credit. Now, this social development. Social development is a process of achieving desired social change. Some of the common social development initiatives are in the areas of housing, health and nutrition, education and training, livelihood opportunities, social security, social equality, social stability, and social welfare. So this is the concept of social development. Then social capital. And ये सारा कहाँ पर cover हो रहा है हमारा? ये हो रहा है social interventions में. So these are the concepts and terms in social sector interventions. So the first concept was poverty, second was social development, third is social capital. This OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, defines social capital as networks together with shared norms, values, and understandings that facilitate cooperation within or among groups. Complementing this definition, the World Bank has defined this concept as social capital refers to the institutions, relationships, and norms that shape the quality and quantity of a society's social interactions. So there are numerous definitions of social capital, where the common factor has been the emphasis on social relations formed for productive benefits. Now, can anybody tell me the example of such social capital where social relations are formed for productive benefits? You might have heard of Bunkar societies. You might have heard for various boards which are developed for rural artisans. So basically, through
अमूल में
society,
भी तो है सर.
अमूल है सर
हाँ।
सबसे बड़ा तो अमूल
हाँ।
है।
अमूल सबसे बड़ा है.
हाँ, तो इसमें क्या है कि ये क्या करते हैं? So they are basically, it refers to the institutions, relationships, and norms that shape the quality and quantity of a society's social interactions. Okay? And the emphasis is on social relations formed for productive benefits. उसके बाद में फिर stakeholders आ गया. Stakeholder कौन है? Stakeholders are defined as any group or individual who can affect or is affected by the achievement of the organization's objectives. Now, both ways it is covered. So stakeholder is defined as any group or individual who can affect or is affected by the achievement of the organization's objectives. The common groups which are considered as stakeholders are customers, employees, shareholders, board members, local communities, government, media, and so on. So who can affect and who is affected? So that is the stakeholder. So if you have formed a company, the shareholder is a stakeholder. The customers for whom you are developing products, they are the stakeholders. Employees are stakeholders. Board members are stakeholders. Local communities which you are utilizing for forming self-help groups, so they are also stakeholders. Next point in this social intervention is sustainability. If we cover 4 marks every day, within 25 days, we'll be able to cover the entire syllabus. And I would request all of you to obtain get slot, say by end of March or first week of April. Sustainability. So sustainability is a multidisciplinary concept encompassing social, environmental, and economic aspects. In 1987, the United Nations Brundtland Commission defined sustainability as the meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So what is sustainability? Sustainability is a multidisciplinary concept. And what are covered? Social, environmental, and economic aspects. Meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So now Because if you are cutting trees, that means you are compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So, but if you put a condition that for every tree you cut, you have to plant 10 more trees. So that could be some sort of sustainability, because sometimes cutting of trees also may be required for development. Suppose a metro project is going on. So you have to cut trees also to make way for the metro. But then you could put a condition that, okay, you plant more trees. For every tree cut, you have to plant 10 trees. So something of that sort. So meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The environmental efforts emphasize on optimum use of natural resources. Then pollution prevention. Pollution prevention, what could be the example of this pollution prevention? So
Use of
if you are mandating industries that, okay, you have to install a effluent treatment plant. Okay, your industry is such that, okay, effluents will be discharged. We know we cannot curtail progress also. We cannot prevent progress, but you have to ensure that before you discharge your effluents into common water bodies, you have to treat them properly. So you have to install pollution control equipment. You have to install these treatment plants and things like that. So pollution prevention, biodiversity, and ecological health. The social welfare initiatives include standards of living, availability of education and jobs, and equal opportunities for all members of society. The economic factors cover economic growth, per capita income, national income, reducing costs, and investments into research and development, and so on. So this is the concept of sustainability. Next point here, in case of social intervention, is inputs. Inputs are the resources that go into the project or program to carry out the activities which include human, financial, and material resources such as money, raw material, training material, technology, and so on. Next is activities. So initiatives that an organization project undertakes to achieve the desired goals. For instance, providing vocational training to women to achieve financial empowerment of women, providing financial aid to poor patients to improve their health and productivity, and so on. So what could be the example of providing financial aid to poor patients? Can you
For
give an
example,
example?
giving Silai machines
No, financial aid to poor patients, I'm saying.
as a poor patient.
The
हाँ,
government
तो
hospital,
उसमें
government hospital.
you can
See,
basically
the medical care which is required for that person, or like say if some equipment is required to him.
What you can do is, in this case,
If he's
suppose
if
there is
if he's asthmatic patient, so he may be requiring some filters or something like that. So you need to provide them.
Yes. So what you can do is that, okay, suppose he needs a particular equipment. Now you can provide financial aid to him that, okay, if you produce this card, then you will be getting a concession on that. The equipment which is otherwise available for 1000 rupees, you will get it at 100 rupees. So this is some sort of providing financial aid to poor patients. So those who cannot afford, say you cannot afford tests. So those tests will be conducted at, say, 10 rupees, which are otherwise available for 100 rupees. So this is some sort of providing financial aid to poor patients.
so इसके अंदर subsidization will be a very major impact, no?
हाँ, वो भी हो सकता है, and you can even give them money that, okay, for meals you can, for getting a decent meal, we will be providing you some sort of financial aid to improve their health and productivity and so on. Next इसमें क्या आ सकता है? Outputs. Output में क्या कहता है ये? देखते हैं. Outputs are products, services, or facilities that immediately result from an organization or project's activities. So these are often expressed quantitatively. For example, number of women who attended vocational training, number of vocational training sessions conducted, number of patients who received financial aid for critical treatment. Because what is ultimately the objective of the social audit? You have to assess the impact, the social impact. So if it is if it can be expressed quantitatively, then it's better. So these outputs are products, services, or facilities that immediately result, and these are often expressed quantitatively. For example, the number of women who attended vocational training. So that way you will be able to express your output in quantitative terms, which can be measured objectively. The number of vocational training sessions conducted, number of patients who received financial aid for critical treatment, etc. Next is outcome. The short-term changes, benefits, learnings, or other effects that result from what a project or organization does, which are qualitative in nature and are an anticipated effect of the intervention. To take forward the previous example, an outcome of the women empowerment project could be an increase in the savings in banks of the women or greater confidence to access credit from the financial institution. So this could be the outcome. So the short-term changes, benefits, learnings, or other effects that result from what a project or organization does, which are qualitative in nature and are an anticipated effect of the intervention. So these are the qualitative effects, basically outcome. And activities, they are basically this outputs are normally expressed in quantitative terms, and outcomes, they are qualitative in nature, basically. Next is the impact. Impact is a long-term or ultimate goal which is achieved. It includes positive, negative, intended or unintended long-term effects. That okay, so many people quit smoking, then so many people, their health improved. So it is a long-term or ultimate goal. It includes positive, negative, intended or unintended long-term effects, commonly capturing changes in social behaviors, social norms, etc. For example, development of self-confidence and self-esteem amongst women, improved productivity of patients after improved health conditions. So this is the impact. Now, what are the methodologies of? Now we have studied the various types of social interventions. The various types of social interventions are this: poverty, social development, social capital, stakeholders, sustainability, inputs, activities, outcomes, outputs, impact. Now, what are the methodologies? So social sector interventions are based on various factors such as beliefs, values, and theoretical preferences of social sector organizations, transparency and trust amongst social or community workers and beneficiaries, and beliefs, culture and values of service users, and so on. The 5 top methods used by social workers are illustrated in figure 1.1 below. So what are the top 5 methods? Let us see. So there is strengths-based and solutions-focused approaches, care management, task-centered social work, narrative social work, and group work. So these are the types. Now let us understand this. Care management, what is it? It is linked mainly with community care or specific beneficiary community care initiatives like healthcare interventions, interventions for disability community. So this is care management. Second is strength-based and solution-based. What it is? This method looks at collaborative practice, understanding strengths of the beneficiaries or resources available in that region, and focus. Suppose the people of a particular region, they excel in certain types of weaving. There are certain, they know a particular type of art. So you can make a collaborative effort just to utilize their strengths. So strength-based and solution-based approaches. So these interventions include projects like watershed management projects, entrepreneurship development programs, etc. Third is narrative social work. So this approach helps beneficiaries to discuss their problems and view it as external to themselves. It helps them to see its positive and negative effects. It can guide beneficiaries into discerning the causality of the problem and find solutions themselves. This method is used in the areas of personality development projects, mental health initiatives, because there are certain, say, criminal tribes. Now, if you are working with those criminal tribes, so you can discuss the problems, or they can discuss their problems that, okay, we are addicted to drinking and all those things. We are addicted to various social evils. So, and you can help them to see the positive and negative effects. So you will be able to guide them into discerning the causality of the problem, what is the cause, and you find solutions yourself. So this method is used in the area of personality development projects, mental health initiatives, etc. Next is group work. So in this methodology, an individual's social development is influenced by the way of group effort. Now, it helps individuals to enhance their social functioning. Some of the common initiatives are through health and sanitation awareness programs, educational programs, and so on. Then task-centered social work. So task-centered method, it emphasizes problem solving. It starts with defining the problem, establishing goals, and achieving the same. It gives measurable results, and effectiveness of the initiatives can be evaluated. This methodology can be used across all the areas of social development initiatives if the problem is clearly identified by the social organization. So a task may be given to them, and then they may be given certain goals, and then the results may be measured against such goals. Now, what are the inherent risks and errors? Because if we do some social intervention, there could be certain risks also. What could be the risk? Because social systems are complex. So if you are working with a criminal tribe, if you are working with tribals, so they may be having their social beliefs, and if you try to interject something which is against their values, so there may be resistance also. Because the social systems, they are complex and shaped by interaction amongst diverse and continuously changing stakeholders. Society keeps changing rapidly, leading to changes in human behavior, availability of resources, changes in economy, changes in government policies and interventions. Social sector organizations, they find it difficult to keep up with the change and introduce innovative approaches. So because of the complexity, because they are working with people, they are working with, not with objects, they are working with people, and they are social systems, they are complex, and they are shaped by interaction. Society also keeps on changing rapidly. There is a change in human behavior, there is a change in availability of resources. So if social enterprises are working, so naturally there will be inherent risks. Then they work in different areas: environmental sustainability, education, health, etc. Now these different sectors, they include a wide spectrum of stakeholders. Some of the risks, what could be the risk? Strategic risk could be there. Because suppose you develop a particular strategy and that strategy doesn't work. So many times social interventions are funder driven, and lack proper vision and strategies to make it long-term and sustainable. Sometimes, suppose there is some venture capital investor. He has given you funds for a particular object. So you have to say align your social interjections through that funder only. So many times social interventions are funder driven, and they lack proper vision and strategies to make it long term and sustainable. So there is a risk of strategy. Financial risk is there. If social intervention is funder driven, then organizations cannot continue, because if there is no, say, revenue model, organizations cannot continue with the interventions in the absence of funding. Many times, small social organizations do not have expertise and resources for proper budgeting and financial management, which affects the funding of the organization. Suppose you have established a hospital for animals. Now, where stray animals which are affected by road accidents, they come. Now, if you are running such a type of organization, there may not be any revenue model, because there is no source of generating revenue. And such a social intervention, that may be funder driven. If you get funds, then it's okay. If you don't get funds, then there could be a problem. So there are certain types of social interventions where there is no revenue model as such, and you have to base your activities on the funder. So if these are funder driven, then strategic risk and financial risk is there. Operational risk: social organizations with limited resources and their remuneration offered cannot employ highly qualified staff, which can result in inefficient management of the operations. At times, organizations face issues like change in policies, disasters, lack of acceptance by beneficiaries, which hinders in the operations of the organization. So there could be strategic risk, financial risk, operational risk, technology related risks. Because resources are limited. So maybe that you are not employing the latest technology. Organizations which are working in remote areas, they do not have infrastructure facilities like continuous electricity supply, internet may not be there, mobile networks may not be there. Then you cannot adopt digital practices. Then regulatory risk is there. If there is a change in CSR policy, provisions of Schedule 7 of the Companies Act, FCRA regulations, they may affect the existing funding, interventions of social enterprises. Then there could be environmental risk also. The solar projects, watershed management projects, activities to enhance agricultural productivity, they depend more on the environmental and climatic conditions. So if there is a climate change, if there is global warming, they may affect the outcomes and impact of. So these are the various types of risks which these organizations. So there are certain inherent risks and errors faced during social interventions. Now let us see these international standards which are applicable for social development. Now CSR, everybody knows, it has gained importance on the international stage as an emerging form in business. So companies report their efforts towards sustainability through various international standards such as Organization for Economic and Cooperation Development, guidelines for multinational enterprises, UN guiding principles on business and human rights, UN Global Impact, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and global reporting initiatives. So these international standards are voluntary guidelines and are subject to regulatory compliances. So they may ask question on this, what are the international standards applicable for social development? So CSR, OECD guidelines, UN guiding principles, UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and global reporting initiatives. Next is, what are the challenges of comparability faced by social sector organizations? Because these social sector organizations, they are varying in terms of registration and regulation. Like we see that trust societies and Section 8 companies, they are governed by different sets of registration and regulations. So with changes in registration, their objective, source of funding, utilization of funds, and activities may vary. So hence it is difficult to compare the outcomes and impact created by social sector organization. They also depend upon the service users. So social interventions often look at changes in behavior, attitude, habits, and value, which cannot be measured because there might be some qualitative change, but we may not be able to measure such change with quantitative indicators. So there can be certain benchmarks which the organization can set, but most of the times these benchmarks are customized to specific social intervention. So they cannot be applied across various types of social interventions. For example, if you want to say assess improved self-esteem or enhance the social status, so they are linked to specific culture, social system, and attitudes of those beneficiaries. Now let us see the social sector landscape in India. Spectrum of development interventions. Economic development is not enough unless it is accompanied with social justice and investment in infrastructure for social development. So there is active participation from academicians, planners, technocrats, philanthropists, and impact investors in the development sectors. So the development interventions are not unidisciplinary nor unidirectional, which they may appear to be at first sight, because they are multidisciplinary and multidirectional. So these interventions are interdisciplinary in approach and have a combination of methods. So now we are studying the landscape, social sector landscape. And there is a need of different types of development interventions. So in Excel 2, it gives an illustrative list of different developments, interventions. What could be they? So if we refer to an Excel 2, then this in Excel 2 is
Page number 43.
Page number is 43, and this could be regarding the service delivery, health camps, vaccination drives, schools, educational projects, skilling. Then first could be service delivery, second could be ecosystem advocacy, research and advocacy, think tanks, whistleblower, capacity building, etc., etc. These could be the different types of development initiatives. Then spectrum, I think we can stop here, and we'll continue it tomorrow. But in the meantime, I would request Sethi to please give his concluding remarks, along with he can ask certain questions also, which he has framed today. So Sethi, it is over to you.
Thank you, sir. So basically, we are talking about this NISM examination. So the first and the foremost thing is, what is the aim of this? So can anybody tell what is the aim of this?
The aim is actually to make the social auditors to analyze the impact of the social impact, because
Yeah, the social impact. Is it social impact or impact of social interventions?
it is both. In fact, the social impact will be coming from the social intervention.
Interventions
social,
only.
yes.
Yeah. Of the various enterprises. And now, what are the objectives of this examination? That was the one aim. Now, what are the objectives of this particular examination?
I think one of the objectives is that if suppose any NGO who is a profit or non-profit NGO is going for listing, because they will take some funds, whether the funds which will be deployed, they are going to be in a social activity that will have a social intervention, the social needs or not.
So,
And this is very important.
These objectives are basically for the social auditor.
Yes, because he has to analyze whether these schemes will have an impact or not.
Yeah, that is right. But how he will assess? He will know the concept of social auditing, understand the general concept related to the social stock exchange, and third is to know the social impact reporting, disclosures, and regulations. So these are basically the three main objectives of this
Yes.
examination.
Hmm.
Now, we were talking about the social goals. So, in which area and which year these social sustainable development goals were first discussed?
2017, India adopted.
It is 2015.
17 नहीं है.
15 है, हाँ जी. And in agenda 2021, they declared 17 goals for it.
SDG, हाँ. SDG 2030 के लिए.
As Gupta sir has pointed out, this is the third sector, so they can call you what is like
Third sector.
It could be the premium sector, or it is the first sector, or it is the third sector. So this way they can form a question also. Now, the approaches of the social sector aim at what are the social sector aims? So we have studied about 3 aims. So can anybody repeat this? Addressing the gap in sectors like education. So they have to address the gap which is there, because there are under less privileged people who could not get it. So the basic purpose is to the basic aim of the sector is to bridge this gap. Second is conducting research-based advocacy, and the third one is forming think tank organization with the right-based approach. So they can form questions here. Instead of right, they may write left, central, or anything. They can, instead of the right, they can make it as a fill in the blank, and then they can use, instead of right, they can use some other word. So this now this social development goals These are for to be achieved by which year?
2030 का aim है ये तो
2030, 2030.
2030.
2030.
2030. 30.
Hmm.
Now, this concept of social enterprise came in India in the year late 1990, early 1990, 1981,
1981,
1991.
1980.
90, get
1981.
90.
No,
No,
sir,
India-
there is a difference. This came in India in 1981.
हाँ,
This gained importance in the late
Late.
1990. So they can make it early 1990,
Yes.
mid 1990, late 1990. This step they can make. So the word is here is the late. Now, like a social enterprise is a type of organization which aligns non-profit social mission without financial sustainability through commercial viability. Is true or false?
commercial viability, हाँ, जरूरी नहीं है because you know funding मिलेगी तो commercial viability is not the criteria, profiting is not the criteria, it is the social needs.
No, I use word without financial sustainability. So without
Hmm.
financial sustainability, can there be a commercial viability?
No.
हाँ, हो सकती है, yes.
Without financial, just sustainability नहीं है financial तो it is false.
क्यों, अगर सपोज जैसे हम वो ये जो एग्जाम्पल था हमारा, ये जो जेल वाले हैं, यू नो उसमें
जी।
थोड़ा बहुत तो, उसमें बिकॉज दे हैव अ सस्टेनेबल मॉडल, अब तो जो प्रॉफिटेरिंग करके वापस लगता है, तो ऐसा तो है नहीं हमने कुछ, तो दैट
I'm saying,
that is
I'm saying non without financial sustainability. So when there is no without when there is when there is
yeah, you're right.
because this is with financial sustainability, but I use
Yeah.
the word without financial sustainability.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that. Yeah, you're right.
Now, as per the government of India, companies have to spend 2% of their gross profit for CSR. Is it true or false?
Also.
False.
False.
So what is the term here?
Net profit.
Net profit. Number one is net profit. The second is this is starts with the legal mandate on CSR. They are not referring to any regulation, not any act, nothing. It is the legal mandate. Key features of the social enterprises include main aim of the social enterprises is a social or environmental cause. False or true?
It is true.
The revenue generated by this model can be distributed to the stakeholders.
No, it
True or
cannot be.
false?
False.
So where it has to go? Where this profit will go?
It will be redeployed for the social work only.
So if I put for this like this, that the revenue generated should be invested back on the same social intervention. So then it is true or false?
True.
It can be true because or
Can
it
be
can.
mean, it can be, of course, but here he says a social cause.
It can
It
be
is
for
not
any other.
the social cause.
It
It is not the social
is
cause.
not the social cause. No, it can be for the different social causes also.
Yeah,
So
but
this will be
that
false.
is where they trap. That is where they
This will be
trap
false.
because
Because
it
it
is
can't be
not
any-
the social cause.
It can be any of the cause.
It can be any of it. It is
Yes,
not necessarily that it has to be invested in the same,
Yeah.
reinvested in the same. SEBI is the regulatory body for trust, society, and NPO.
Yes, true.
No, SEBI is not the
No,
regulatory body
Not
for that.
regulated.
हाँ,
SEBI
trust
is
के
the
लिए तो नहीं है,
regulatory
trust-
body only for
Companies.
for this eligibility criteria.
Yes.
But if the trust or the society is also going for the listing, then in that case,
I have not used word, ma'am, listing. I have not used word listing. No. I
Otherwise,
said regulatory body. So,
Hmm.
because in this we have read that there is no single organization, there is no single regulatory body for these organizations. Act. So different acts are governing. So there is no regulatory body, single regulatory body for it.
Yeah.
No, the trust is the oldest form of social which is governed by an act of 1860, 1882, 1821 or 1847.
1882.
1860.
नहीं, trust का तो
The
1882 है.
trust is 1882. This is a confusion
Yes.
because that society
Yes.
is governed by 1960, but have this is the word they use is the oldest here. ये थोड़ा सा catch मतलब यहाँ पर जो मुझे लगा है, this is a catch here. The trust, the public trust are not come under this regulation of 1882 in the state of dash and dash. There are two states in India where this 1882 for private trust, general law is applied for public trust except in few of the states such as Maharashtra and Gujarat. Maharashtra and Gujarat. Yeah. Not JK and Sikkim, sir.
वो तो उसमें है, society में.
So in case of societies, the number of minimum number of the is required is in state of Telangana 7, 5, 7, 5, 9, 11.
5 JNK तेलंगाना में 5 वैसे 7.
JNK और तेलंगाना में 5, बाकी सब स्टेट्स में जो है वो 7 है.
So I think Sunil ji, we can stop here, है ना? And we can continue it tomorrow.
आवाज नहीं आ रही.
There are two states, there are two words which are being used in this total study many times, that is underserved and less privileged. So this we have to remember. I think this we have to remember as these only, underserved and less privileged. We can't say less privileged cannot be replaced with underprivileged.
Yes.
They may form a question as underprivileged and less served. So we have to be underserved and less privileged. Because this is very confusing ना, हमारी language में usually हम underprivileged बोलते हैं. So वहाँ, but here they are using the term underserved and less privileged. Yes, sir, we can stop it here. So these were a few things which came into my mind.
हाँ, बिल्कुल.
So these were the twist I could see.
So thank you very much, Sunil Sethi ji and all the participants. देखिए ऐसा है कि once you have chosen to become a social auditor, it is not only a professional opportunity, but a social cause also, because you will be assessing the impact of various social schemes, of various social interventions, social benefits, which are being intended to be given to these underserved or underprivileged sections of the society. So this way we will be serving the society also, and side by side we will be exploring the professional opportunities. We can serve as a consultant to some NGOs who is interested in getting their stocks listed. We can be employed with WHO, we can be employed with UNO. So there could be opportunities worldwide if we understand the concepts very clearly. And our exam, our purpose is not only just passing the exam, but to put the knowledge which we are gaining by studying the subject to some benefit of the society also. So with this thing in mind, if we do, it will be a very pious objective, and I think we'll be learning a lot in the process. So thank you all. And this session was being recorded for the benefit of all. Those who could not attend, they can, or you can also again go through this. So I'll be posting a link for this in the WhatsApp group. And tomorrow we will continue. I think for 5-6 days we can continue with this NISM, this study material. And in the meantime, we will be posting some videos also in the group. So thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night.
sir.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.